The hospital room was quiet. Too quiet. The machines beeped softly, keeping time with my slow heartbeat. My eyes were closed, but I could hear everything. I could feel everything. I just couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I couldn't scream. I was trapped inside my own body. The doctors called it a coma. They said I might never wake up. They said my brain was damaged from the car accident, but they were wrong. I was awake inside. I was listening. I was waiting. And that's when I heard the door open. Heavy footsteps crossed the floor. I knew those footsteps. I had listened to them for 7 years of marriage. They belonged to my husband, Darnell. But something was different tonight. His breathing was strange, fast and nervous. Like he was afraid of something, or excited about something. I felt him lean close to my face. His breath smelled like coffee and something else. Something bitter. "You should have just died in that accident, Amara," he whispered. His voice was cold. Colder than I had ever heard it. "But you had to hold on. You had to keep fighting." Well, I'm tired of waiting. My heart wanted to race, but the machines kept it slow and steady. What was he talking about? Waiting for what? "Your father's lawyer called me today," Darnell continued. "Did you know your daddy was rich, Amara? Not just regular rich, billionaire rich, multiple billions. And guess what? You're his only child. Everything goes to you. The houses, the businesses, the bank accounts in Switzerland, all of it." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My father? A billionaire? But that was impossible. My father was a simple mechanic who fixed cars in his small garage. He wore the same old work boots for 15 years. He drove a beat-up truck from 1995. He never had money for fancy things. This had to be a mistake. But Darnell kept talking. "The lawyer said your daddy hid everything from you. He wanted you to grow up normal. He wanted you to find a man who loved you for you, not for his money." Well, joke's on him, because I found out anyway. I felt something touch my neck, something warm. His hands. "The problem is," Darnell said, his voice getting lower, "if you wake up, you get everything. But if you die while we're still married, I get it all, every single penny. And I've been waiting too long to be rich, Amara. 7 years of pretending to love you, 7 years of this boring life. I deserve that money." His hands started to squeeze. No. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. The man I married, the man I trusted, the man I thought loved me. He was going to kill me for money I didn't even know existed. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. I tried to move my arms. They stayed still. I tried to open my eyes. They wouldn't listen. The pressure on my throat got tighter. The beeping of the machine started to slow down. My chest burned. My head felt like it was going to explode. "Goodbye, Amara," Darnell whispered. "Thanks for the inheritance." The last thing I heard before everything went dark was the sound of my own heartbeat stopping. But wait, if I died that night, how am I telling you this story? Hello, beautiful people. Where are you watching from today? Before we continue this incredible story, please hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Now, let me take you back to the beginning. Let me tell you how I ended up in that hospital bed, married to a man who wanted me dead for money I never knew I had. My name is Amara Jenkins. I grew up in a small town called Maplewood in Georgia. It wasn't a fancy place. The houses were old. The streets were cracked. Most folks worked at the factory or the farms nearby. We didn't have much, but we had each other. My daddy's name was Elijah Jenkins. Everyone in town called him Eli. He ran a little auto repair shop on the corner of Oak Street and Main. The sign outside was faded and crooked. It just said Eli's Garage in peeling red letters. Every morning, Daddy would wake up at 5 o'clock. He would put on his old work boots, the ones with the hole in the left toe. He would drink 1 cup of black coffee, kiss me on the forehead, and walk to his shop. He worked on cars all day long. Trucks, vans, motorcycles. Anything with an engine, Daddy could fix it. At night, he would come home covered in grease and oil. His hands were rough like sandpaper. His clothes always smelled like gasoline. But his smile was warm like sunshine, and his hugs made everything feel safe. "Amara, baby girl," he would say to me every night at dinner. "Money doesn't make a person rich. Love does. Kindness does. A good heart does. Remember that." I believed him. Why wouldn't I? We lived in a tiny house with 3 rooms. My bedroom was so small I could touch both walls if I stretched my arms out wide. We ate beans and rice more nights than I could count. My shoes had holes in them until they completely fell apart. But Daddy always said we were blessed. My mama died when I was just 4 years old. I barely remembered her face. Daddy kept one picture of her on his nightstand. In it, she was wearing a yellow dress and laughing at something outside the frame. She looked beautiful. She looked happy. "Your mama had a heart of gold," Daddy would tell me. "You got that same heart, Amara. Don't ever let anyone take it from you." I grew up being kind to everyone. I helped old Mrs. Patterson carry her groceries every Saturday. I tutored kids at school who struggled with reading. I volunteered at the animal shelter on weekends, cleaning cages and walking dogs nobody wanted. That's actually where I met Darnell. I was 22 years old. It was a hot summer afternoon in July. I was behind the shelter, trying to give a bath to a stubborn pit bull named Bruno, who hated water more than anything in the world. Bruno was splashing and barking and making a huge mess. I was soaking wet and laughing so hard my stomach hurt. That's when I heard a voice behind me. "Need some help with that monster?" I turned around and saw him for the first time. Darnell Thompson. He was tall and handsome, with smooth brown skin and a smile that seemed to light up the whole yard. He was wearing a nice button-down shirt and clean pants, way too fancy for an animal shelter. "What are you doing here?" I asked, wiping water from my face. "My company donated some money to this place," he said, walking closer. "I came to see where it was going." He looked at Bruno, then at me. "Looks like it's going to a good cause." I felt my cheeks get warm. "Thanks. I'm Amara." "Darnell," he said, reaching out to shake my hand. "Nice to meet you, Amara." That was the moment my life changed forever. I just didn't know yet if it changed for better or for worse. Darnell started showing up at the shelter every week after that. He said he wanted to volunteer. He said he loved animals. He said he admired my dedication. He brought me flowers. He brought me lunch. He told me I was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Nobody had ever treated me like that before. Nobody had ever made me feel so special. Daddy wasn't so sure about him, though. "Something about that boy don't sit right with me," Daddy said one evening. We were sitting on our tiny porch, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. "He's too smooth, Amara. Too polished. Like he's trying too hard." "Daddy, you're just being protective," I said, laughing. "Darnell is kind and thoughtful. He treats me like a queen." Daddy shook his head slowly. "A man's words are easy, baby girl. Watch his actions. Watch how he treats people who can't do nothing for him. That's how you know his true character." I should have listened. I should have watched more carefully. But I was young and in love, and blinded by attention I had never received before. After 6 months of dating, Darnell proposed to me. He got down on one knee in the middle of the town square. He had a ring with a tiny diamond that sparkled in the afternoon sun. Everyone was watching. Everyone was clapping. "Amara Jenkins," he said, his eyes shining with what I thought was love. "Will you marry me and make me the happiest man alive?" I said yes. Of course I said yes. I thought I had found my fairy tale ending. We got married 3 months later in a small church ceremony. Daddy walked me down the aisle. His eyes were wet with tears, but his smile seemed forced. At the reception, he held my hands in his rough, calloused palms. "I hope I'm wrong about him," Daddy whispered. "I pray every day that I'm wrong. But remember, Amara, if anything ever happens, you come home. This door is always open. Always." "Nothing bad is going to happen, Daddy," I promised him. "Darnell loves me." Daddy nodded slowly, but he didn't say anything else. After the wedding, Darnell and I moved into a small apartment in Atlanta. It was supposed to be temporary. Darnell said he was working on some big business deals. He said we would be rich soon. He said I just needed to be patient and trust him. I got a job as a teacher's assistant at an elementary school. I loved working with the children. Their laughter and curiosity made every day feel meaningful. I didn't mind that we didn't have much money. I didn't mind that our apartment was tiny. I was happy. But slowly, things started to change. Darnell stopped bringing me flowers. He stopped telling me I was beautiful. He started staying out late at night without explaining where he was. He started snapping at me over small things. Dinner was too cold. The apartment was too messy. I was too clingy. "Why are you always asking questions?" he would yell. "Don't you trust me?" I tried to trust him. I tried to be a good wife. I told myself that all marriages had rough patches. I told myself he was just stressed about work. But deep down, something felt wrong. Then, on my 30th birthday, everything fell apart. Darnell was supposed to take me out to dinner. He had promised a special night at a fancy restaurant downtown. I spent hours getting ready. I wore my best dress. I styled my hair. I felt beautiful for the first time in months. But Darnell never came home. I waited and waited. The clock ticked past 7, past 8, past 9. I called his phone 100 times. No answer. I texted him until my fingers hurt. Nothing. Finally, at midnight, the door opened. Darnell stumbled in, smelling like alcohol and cheap perfume. His shirt was untucked. His collar had lipstick on it, lipstick that wasn't mine. "Where were you?" I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "It's my birthday. You promised." He looked at me with eyes that had no warmth in them, no love, no regret. "Had something more important to do," he said, walking past me to the bedroom. "Happy birthday." That night, I cried myself to sleep. I thought about calling Daddy. I thought about going home. But something kept me there. Pride, maybe. Shame. The belief that if I just tried harder, things would get better. They didn't get better. They got worse. Much, much worse. 3 weeks after my birthday, Daddy called me. His voice sounded strange on the phone, weak and tired. "Amara, baby girl," he said, "I need to tell you something important. Can you come home this weekend? There's something about our family you need to know." "What is it, Daddy? You're scaring me." "Not over the phone," he said. "This has to be face to face. It's about your inheritance, about who I really am, about who you really are." My heart started beating fast. Inheritance? What inheritance? We didn't have anything to inherit. "I'll come Saturday," I promised. "Just hold on. I'll be there." But I never made it. Because Friday night, on my way to visit Daddy, a truck ran a red light and slammed into my car at 60 miles per hour. The last thing I saw before everything went dark was the sky through my shattered windshield. The last thing I thought was that I would never learn Daddy's secret. I didn't know then that his secret would change everything. I didn't know that the truth about my family would put my life in danger from the person I trusted most. And I didn't know that in just 3 days, my own husband would stand over my hospital bed and squeeze the life out of my body for a fortune I never knew existed. The darkness was complete. There was no sound, no light, no feeling. It was like floating in an ocean of nothing, with no up or down, no beginning or end. Is this death? I wondered. Is this what happens when your heart stops beating? But then I heard something. Far away, like a whisper from the other side of a wall. A voice, soft and warm and familiar. Amara, baby girl, it's not your time yet. You have to go back. You have to fight. Mama? Was that my mama's voice? The mama I barely remembered? There's so much you don't know. The voice continued. So much your daddy tried to protect you from. But the truth will set you free, Amara. You just have to wake up. You have to wake up and fight. I wanted to reach out to her. I wanted to see her face, but the darkness started to change. It wasn't so heavy anymore. It was lifting, slowly, like fog burning off in the morning sun. And then I heard other voices, real voices, voices from the world of the living. We got a pulse. She's back. Someone paged the doctor immediately. Machine started beeping fast. Footsteps ran across the floor. Hands touched my arms, my face, my chest. People were shouting medical words I didn't understand. I was alive. Somehow, impossibly, I was alive. But I still couldn't open my eyes. I still couldn't move or speak. I was trapped in my body again, like before. Only this time, I knew the truth. I knew what Darnell had done. I knew what kind of monster I had married. And I knew I had to find a way to wake up before he tried again. Her vitals are stabilizing, a woman's voice said. She sounded tired but relieved. I don't understand it. She was gone for almost 4 minutes. This is nothing short of a miracle. Should we call her husband? Another voice asked. He left about an hour ago, said he was going home to rest. No, I screamed inside my head. Don't call him. He tried to kill me. Please don't tell him I'm alive. But of course, no one could hear me. No one knew what had happened in that room when the monitors went dark. No one knew that my loving husband had wrapped his hands around my throat and strangled me while I lay helpless in my hospital bed. Yes, call Mr. Thompson, the doctor said. He'll want to know his wife is showing signs of improvement. If I could have cried, I would have. Tears of frustration and fear would have poured down my face, but my body wouldn't cooperate. My body just lay there, still and silent, while the people around me celebrated my miracle recovery. They didn't know they were inviting my killer to come back and finish the job. The next few hours passed in a blur of sounds and sensations. Doctors examined me. Nurses adjusted my tubes and wires. Someone held my hand and prayed over me. I tried so hard to squeeze their fingers, to give them any sign that I was awake inside, but my muscles refused to obey. Then I heard footsteps I recognized, heavy and confident, the footsteps of a man who thought he had gotten away with murder. Mr. Thompson, thank you for coming back so quickly, the doctor said. I have wonderful news. Your wife showed remarkable improvement overnight. Her heart stopped briefly around midnight, but she pulled through. It's truly extraordinary. There was a pause. I could feel Darnell's shock from across the room. He must have been so confused, so scared. He thought he had killed me. He thought he was free. That's amazing, Darnell finally said. His voice was smooth and calm, but I knew him well enough to hear the tension underneath. My poor Amara. She's a fighter. She certainly is, the doctor agreed. We're optimistic about her recovery now. It may take time, but we believe she could wake up within the next few weeks, perhaps even sooner. Wake up? Darnell's voice cracked just a little. You mean, she'll be able to talk? To remember things? It's possible. Every coma patient is different. Some wake up with full memory of what happened before their accident. Others have gaps. We won't know until she regains consciousness. Another long pause. I could almost hear Darnell's mind racing. If I woke up, would I remember what he did? Would I be able to tell people? Would his plan fall apart completely? Can I have a moment alone with her? Darnell asked. His voice was softer now, trying to sound like a loving husband. I just want to hold her hand and pray. My heart would have stopped again if it could. He was going to try again. Right here. Right now. Of course, the doctor said. Take all the time you need. I'll make sure you're not disturbed." "No," I screamed silently. "Don't leave me alone with him, please." The door closed. Footsteps faded away. And then there was silence. I felt Darnell move closer to my bed. I felt his breath on my face. I felt him lean down until his lips were right next to my ear. "How are you still alive?" he whispered, his voice shaking with anger. "I watched you die. I watched your heart stop. How did you come back?" I couldn't answer. I couldn't do anything but listen and pray. "It doesn't matter," he continued. "You're going to die eventually. They all do. And when you do, I'll be right there to comfort everyone." The grieving husband. The poor man who lost his wife too young. He laughed quietly. "Nobody suspects me, Amara. Nobody ever will." He stood up straight. I heard him walk to the other side of the room. Then I heard something else. Something that made my blood run cold. Water. He was pouring water into something. "The doctors will be watching your heart now," Darnell said, almost to himself. "I can't do that again. But there are other ways, slower ways, ways that look like natural complications." What was he planning? What was he going to do to me? Before I could find out, the door suddenly opened. "Excuse me, Mr. Thompson." It was a nurse. Her voice was young and cheerful. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's someone at the front desk asking for you. Says it's urgent." Darnell cleared his throat. "Who is it?" "An older gentleman. He says his name is Elijah Jenkins. Says he's your wife's father." Daddy was here. My heart soared with hope. If anyone could help me, it was Daddy. He had warned me about Darnell from the beginning. He knew something was wrong. "Tell him I'll be right there," Darnell said, his voice tight with annoyance. "I was just saying goodbye to my wife." I felt him lean close one more time. "This isn't over," he breathed into my ear. "When that old man leaves, you and I are going to have another talk." Then he was gone. The door clicked shut behind him, and I was alone with nothing but my thoughts and my fear. I had to wake up. I had to find a way to tell Daddy the truth before it was too late. But how? How could I reach him when I couldn't even open my eyes? The answer came to me slowly, rising up from somewhere deep in my memory. Something I had read once in a magazine at the doctor's office. It was about coma patients who couldn't speak or move but could still communicate in small ways. Blinking, finger twitches, things so tiny that most people wouldn't notice unless they were looking. I focused all my energy on my right hand. I pictured it moving. I imagined the signals traveling from my brain down through my arm to my fingers. I tried harder than I had ever tried at anything in my life. Nothing happened. I tried again. And again. And again. Still nothing. Exhaustion started to pull at me. The darkness was creeping back at the edges of my consciousness. I wanted to give up. I wanted to sink back into that peaceful nothingness, where there was no pain and no fear. But then I heard Mama's voice again, soft as a summer breeze. "Keep fighting, baby girl. Don't give up. You're stronger than you know." So I tried one more time. I gathered every ounce of strength I had left. I focused on just one finger, my pinky finger on my right hand. I imagined it moving. I begged it to move. And then, like a tiny miracle, I felt it twitch. Just a little, just a fraction of an inch, but it moved. I could have shouted with joy if I had a voice. Instead, I just let the relief wash over me. It wasn't much. It wasn't nearly enough. But it was something. It was proof that I could fight back. Now I just needed someone to notice. An hour passed, maybe more. It was hard to tell time when you couldn't see or move. I practiced twitching my finger over and over again. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but I kept trying. Then the door opened again, and I heard a voice that made tears well up behind my closed eyelids. "My baby girl," Daddy whispered. His rough hand took mine, gentle as always. "I'm here, Amara. Daddy's here." I felt him sit down in the chair next to my bed. I heard him sniffle, trying to hold back tears. His hand squeezed mine, and for a moment, I felt safe again. Like I was 5 years old and he was checking under my bed for monsters. But this time, the monster wasn't under my bed. The monster was my husband. "I'm so sorry, baby," Daddy said, his voice thick with emotion. "I should have told you sooner. I should have trusted you with the truth. But I wanted to protect you. I wanted you to have a normal life." "What truth?" I wanted to scream. "What are you talking about, Daddy?" As if he could hear my thoughts, he continued. "Your grandfather, my father, he wasn't who everyone thought he was. He came to America from Nigeria with nothing but $20 in his pocket and a dream. He worked 3 jobs. He saved every penny. He invested in land when land was cheap, then oil, then technology. He built an empire, Amara, an empire worth more than $3 billion. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My grandfather? An empire? $3 billion? When he died, he left everything to me, Daddy said, but I didn't want it. I saw what money did to people. I saw how it changed them, made them greedy and mean. So I hid it. I lived a simple life. I fixed cars. I raised you to value hard work and kindness instead of wealth." Daddy paused, and I heard him take a deep, shaky breath. "But I'm sick, Amara. The doctors say I have cancer. They say I only have a few months left, and I can't leave this world without making sure you're protected, without making sure you know who you really are." Cancer. Daddy had cancer. First the accident, then Darnell, and now this. How much more could I take? "That's why I called you," Daddy continued. "That's why I asked you to come home. I needed to tell you about your inheritance, about the houses in 3 countries, about the businesses, about the bank accounts. I needed to sign everything over to you before it's too late." He squeezed my hand tighter. "But that husband of yours, something ain't right about him, Amara. The way he acted when I met him in the lobby just now, the questions he was asking about my estate, about when you would wake up, about what happens if you don't wake up." Daddy leaned closer. I could smell the familiar scent of motor oil and coffee that always clung to him. "I don't trust him, baby girl," he whispered. "I never have, and now that there's all this money involved, I trust him even less. That's why I did something to protect you." My finger twitched. I didn't even try to make it happen. It just did. Daddy froze. "Amara, did your finger just move?" I tried again. I focused all my energy on that one tiny muscle, and my pinky finger twitched again, stronger this time. "Oh my Lord," Daddy breathed. "You can hear me. You can hear everything I'm saying." "Yes, Daddy. Yes, I can hear you. Keep talking. Please keep talking." "Okay, baby girl. Okay." Daddy's voice was shaking now, but not from sadness. From hope. "I'm going to ask you some questions. 1 twitch for yes, 2 twitches for no. Can you do that?" I focused. I twitched once. Daddy let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. "That's my girl. That's my strong, brave girl." He took a moment to compose himself. Then his voice got serious. "Amara, do you know what happened the night your heart stopped?" I twitched once. "Yes. Was it a natural thing? Did your body just give out?" I twitched twice. "No." Daddy's grip on my hand tightened. Did someone hurt you?" I twitched once. "Yes." The silence that followed was heavy. I could feel Daddy's whole body tense up beside me. Was it a doctor or a nurse? I twitched twice. "No." Was it? Daddy's voice broke. "Was it Darnell?" I twitched once, hard, as hard as I could. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." Daddy didn't say anything for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice had changed. It wasn't soft anymore. It was steel. "I knew it," he growled. "I knew something was wrong with that boy. From the first day I met him, I knew he was hiding something rotten inside. He stood up from the chair. I heard him pacing back and forth. Listen to me, Amara. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to make sure that man never hurts you again. But I need you to do something for me. I need you to keep fighting. I need you to wake up. Can you do that? I twitched once. Yes. Good girl. Now, I'm going to go talk to the doctors. I'm going to make sure there's security outside your door. I'm going to make sure Darnell can't be alone with you again. But I have to be careful. I have to be smart about this. If he knows we're onto him, he might do something desperate. Daddy leaned down and kissed my forehead. His tears dripped onto my face. I love you, baby girl. More than anything in this world. You just hold on. Daddy's going to fix this. Daddy's going to make it right. And then he was gone. I lay there in the darkness, my heart full of fear and hope. Daddy knew the truth now. He was going to help me. He was going to stop Darnell. But I also knew Darnell was smart. He was cunning. He had fooled me for 7 years. He had fooled everyone. And now that he knew there were billions of dollars at stake, he wasn't going to give up easily. The door opened again about 20 minutes later. Heavy footsteps crossed the room. Well, Darnell said, his voice smooth and pleasant. I just had the most interesting conversation with your father. He seems very concerned about you, very protective. I felt him sit down in the chair Daddy had just left. He also told me something fascinating. Darnell continued. He told me that he's changing his will. He's putting everything in a trust with special conditions. Conditions that mean I won't get anything if you die. His voice got colder. Your daddy thinks he's clever. He thinks he can outsmart me. But he doesn't know who he's dealing with, Amara. He doesn't know what I'm capable of. Darnell stood up abruptly. His footsteps moved toward the door. Sweet dreams, wife? He called back over his shoulder. Enjoy your father while you can. Because one way or another, I'm going to get what I deserve, even if I have to take it from both of you. The door slammed shut. And in that moment, I realized with horrible clarity that Daddy wasn't just trying to protect me anymore. Now he was in danger too. The next 3 days were the longest of my life. I lay in that hospital bed, trapped in my own body, listening to everything happening around me. Nurses came and went. Doctors discussed my condition in words I barely understood. And Daddy visited every single day, sitting by my bed for hours, holding my hand, telling me stories about my childhood. But Darnell was always watching, always waiting. He would show up at random times, playing the role of the devoted husband. He brought flowers that he knew I couldn't see. He read cards out loud from people at my job, people who believed he was a good man. He cried fake tears that fooled everyone except Daddy and me. Your husband is so dedicated, one of the nurses said while she was checking my IV. He's here every day, sometimes twice a day. You're a lucky woman, Mrs. Thompson. Lucky. If only she knew the truth. If only she knew that every time Darnell walked into my room, my heart raced with terror. If only she knew that his loving words were all lies, and his gentle touches made my skin crawl. But I couldn't tell her. I couldn't tell anyone except Daddy, and even he had to be careful about what he said and did. We both knew Darnell was suspicious. We both knew one wrong move could push him over the edge. On the 4th day after Daddy discovered the truth, something changed. It was early morning. The sun was just starting to come through the window. I could feel its warmth on my face. I was practicing, moving my fingers like I did every day, trying to build up my strength, when I noticed something different. My eyelids felt lighter. I focused on them the same way I had focused on my fingers. I imagined them opening. I pictured light flooding into my eyes. I pushed and pushed with every ounce of mental energy I had. And slowly, painfully, my eyes cracked open. The light was blinding at first. I couldn't see anything but white. Tears streamed down my face, real tears, and I blinked over and over until the world started to come into focus. I was in a hospital room, just like I had imagined. The walls were pale blue. Machines surrounded my bed, beeping and humming. A window to my right showed a gray sky dotted with clouds, and sitting in a chair next to me, asleep with his head resting on the bed, was Daddy. He looked older than I remembered. His hair was grayer. His face had more lines. He looked tired and worn, like he had been fighting a battle that was slowly defeating him. Cancer. He had cancer. That wasn't just something I dreamed. It was real. I tried to speak, to say his name, but my throat was so dry that only a croak came out. Still, it was enough. Daddy's eyes flew open. He looked at me, and when he saw that I was looking back, his whole face transformed. "Amara?" he whispered, like he was afraid to believe it. "Baby girl? Are you awake?" I tried to nod. It was small and weak, but it was a nod. Daddy burst into tears, not quiet tears like before. Big, loud, happy sobs that shook his whole body. He grabbed my hand and held it to his face, kissing my fingers over and over. "Thank you, Lord," he cried. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. You brought my baby back to me." A nurse rushed in, probably alarmed by the noise. When she saw my open eyes, she gasped and ran back out, shouting for a doctor. Within minutes, my room was full of people. They shined lights in my eyes. They asked me questions. They checked my reflexes and my blood pressure and 100 other things. Through it all, Daddy never let go of my hand. "Mrs. Thompson, can you tell me your name?" the doctor asked. I swallowed hard. My throat felt like sandpaper. Someone gave me a tiny sip of water through a straw. "Amara," I whispered. My voice sounded strange to me, rough and weak. "Amara Jenkins Thompson." "Very good. Do you know where you are?" "Hospital." "Do you know what happened to you?" I looked at Daddy. His eyes were full of meaning, full of warning. "Be careful," they seemed to say. "Don't tell them everything yet." "Car accident," I said slowly. "A truck hit me." The doctor nodded, looking pleased. "That's right. You've been in a coma for almost 3 weeks. Do you remember anything else?" I paused. I remembered everything. I remembered Darnell's hands around my throat. I remembered his voice telling me goodbye. I remembered dying and coming back. But I also remembered what Daddy said. We had to be smart. We had to be careful. "It's fuzzy," I lied. "Everything is fuzzy." The doctor patted my arm. "That's completely normal. Memory often returns gradually after a coma. Just rest now. You've been through a lot." The medical team eventually left, promising to come back later for more tests. Daddy waited until the door closed behind them. Then he leaned close to me. "Can you really remember?" he whispered. "Do you remember what he did?" I nodded, tears filling my eyes. "Everything, Daddy. I remember everything." Daddy's jaw tightened. "Then we have to move fast. Darnell will find out you're awake any minute now. The hospital probably already called him. What are we going to do?" "I have a plan." Daddy pulled his chair closer. "I've been working on it while you were asleep. I hired a private investigator. His name is Jerome, best in the business. He's been digging into Darnell's past." "What did he find?" Daddy's eyes darkened. "More than we expected. A lot more. But I'll tell you everything later. Right now, we need to get you out of this hospital. We need to get you somewhere safe." "But Daddy, I can barely move. I can barely talk. How am I supposed to go anywhere?" "I've arranged for a private medical facility. It's 3 hours away, out in the country. Only a few people will know you're there. Darnell won't be able to find you." I felt hope rising in my chest for the first time in weeks. "When can we go?" "When?" "Tonight. I'm going to tell the doctors that I'm transferring you to a specialist hospital." It's not unusual for wealthy families to do that. They won't ask too many questions. Wealthy families. I was still getting used to that idea. Me, Amara Jenkins, daughter of a mechanic who couldn't afford new shoes growing up. Part of a wealthy family. "Daddy," I said softly, "the money, the inheritance, I still don't understand. How did you hide it all these years?" Daddy sighed and sat back in his chair. It wasn't easy, baby girl. But I had help. Good lawyers. Loyal friends who understood what I was trying to do. He paused. Your grandfather built his fortune in secret. He didn't trust banks or governments. He put everything in trusts and holding companies with names nobody would recognize. When he died, he left instructions for me. He said to keep it hidden until the right time. Why? Why didn't he want people to know? Because he saw what money did to our family back in Nigeria. His brothers fought over his father's land. They stopped speaking. Some of them did terrible things to each other. Daddy shook his head. My father didn't want that for us. He wanted us to be a family first, always. He wanted any child or grandchild who inherited his wealth to be a person of good character, a person who wouldn't be corrupted by greed. I thought about that. I thought about my whole life, growing up believing we were poor, working hard, volunteering, helping others because it was the right thing to do, not because I expected anything in return. So all those years, I said slowly, you were testing me? Daddy smiled sadly. Not testing you, baby girl. Teaching you, building your character, making sure you knew what really mattered in life. His smile faded. I just never expected someone like Darnell to come along. Someone who could see through the act. Someone who could smell money even when it was hidden. How did he find out? I never knew. How could he know? That's what Jerome discovered. Darnell has been watching our family for a long time. Longer than you know. Daddy looked toward the door like he was checking to make sure no one was listening. He's not who he says he is, Amara. His whole life is a lie. Before Daddy could explain more, we heard voices in the hallway. One of them was Darnell's. I'm her husband. I have a right to see her. Sir, the patient just woke up. The doctors need time to examine her. If you could just wait in the family room. I'm not waiting anywhere. Let me see my wife. Daddy stood up quickly. His face was calm, but I could see fire in his eyes. Stay quiet, he told me. Don't let him know how much you remember. We need more time to get everything in place. The door burst open, and Darnell rushed in. When he saw me lying there with my eyes open, he froze. His face went through about 5 different emotions in 2 seconds. Shock, fear, calculation. And then, like a mask sliding into place, loving concern. Amara, oh my God, you're awake. He pushed past Daddy and grabbed my hand. I was so worried about you, baby. I prayed every day for this moment. His touch made me want to scream. His face, so close to mine, made me want to throw up. But I remembered what Daddy said. I had to pretend. I had to make him think I didn't remember. Darnell? I made my voice sound confused and weak. What happened? Where am I? You're in the hospital, sweetheart. You had a car accident, but you're going to be okay now. Everything's going to be okay. He leaned down like he was going to kiss me. I turned my head slightly, making it look like I was too tired to receive it. He ended up kissing my cheek instead. She needs rest, Daddy said firmly. The doctors said not to overwhelm her. Darnell straightened up and turned to face Daddy. The 2 men stared at each other, and I could feel the tension crackling between them like electricity. Of course, Darnell said smoothly. I just wanted to see her, to make sure she's really okay. She's fine. I've been here all night watching over her. I appreciate that, Elijah. But I'm her husband. It's my job to take care of her now. Is that so? Daddy's voice was dangerously calm. I watched Darnell's eyes narrow slightly. He knew something was different. He could sense that Daddy wasn't fooled anymore. But he didn't know how much we knew. He didn't know that his whole plan was about to fall apart. Maybe we should step outside and talk, Darnell suggested. Let Amara rest. Daddy nodded slowly. That's a good idea. We have a lot to discuss. They walked out of the room together, 2 men who both knew the other was their enemy. I lay there in my bed, heart pounding, wondering what was being said in that hallway. Wondering if Daddy was safe. About 10 minutes later, Daddy came back alone. His face was grim. "What happened?" I asked urgently. "What did he say?" "He's suspicious," Daddy replied. "He knows something's changed. He asked me a lot of questions about the inheritance, about whether you had signed any papers before your accident." "What did you tell him?" "I told him the truth, that everything is in a trust now, that if anything happens to you, the money goes to charity, that he gets nothing either way." "How did he react?" Daddy sat down heavily in his chair. He smiled, said he didn't care about money, said he just wanted his wife to get better. "But you didn't believe him?" "Of course not. I saw his eyes, Amara. There was murder in those eyes." Daddy reached out and took my hand. "We're moving up the timeline. We're getting you out of here tonight, even if I have to carry you myself." I squeezed his hand as tight as I could, which wasn't very tight at all. "What about you, Daddy?" "He threatened you too. He said he would take what he deserved from both of us." "Don't worry about me, baby girl. I've faced worse than Darnell Thompson in my life. I've protected my family's secrets for 30 years. One greedy man isn't going to stop me now." But even as he said it, I saw something in his eyes, a flicker of doubt, a shadow of fear. And I remembered what he told me earlier. He was sick. He was dying. He only had a few months left. How much longer could he keep fighting? The rest of the day passed slowly. Doctors came and went. Nurses checked my vitals. A physical therapist helped me sit up in bed and move my arms and legs. Everything hurt, but I pushed through the pain. I needed to get stronger. I needed to be ready to leave. Darnell came back twice more, each time playing his part perfectly. He held my hand. He told me he loved me. He promised to take care of me forever. And each time, I smiled weakly and pretended not to remember the feeling of his hands around my throat. When night finally fell, the hospital got quiet. Visiting hours ended. Darnell left after kissing my forehead and promising to be back first thing in the morning. "Sleep well, sweetheart," he said at the door. "Tomorrow is a new beginning for us." Those words sent chills down my spine. An hour after he left, Daddy appeared with a nurse I didn't recognize. She was a large woman with kind eyes and strong arms. "This is Gloria," Daddy said. "She's going to help us get you out of here. She's worked for our family for years. We can trust her." Gloria smiled at me. "Don't you worry, honey. I've moved patients a lot more fragile than you. You're going to be just fine." They worked quickly and quietly. Gloria disconnected me from the machines and helped me into a wheelchair. Daddy gathered my few belongings. Another woman appeared with paperwork that made everything look official and legal. "The ambulance is waiting at the service entrance," Daddy said. "We'll be at the safe house before sunrise." We moved through the hospital corridors like shadows. Every time we passed a nurse's station, my heart stopped. Every time a door opened, I expected to see Darnell standing there, blocking our escape. But we made it to the service entrance without being stopped. A private ambulance was waiting, just like Daddy promised. 2 paramedics helped lift me inside. Daddy climbed in beside me. He took my hand and held it tight. "We did it, baby girl. We got you out." I wanted to feel relieved. I wanted to believe we were safe, but something was gnawing at me. Something felt wrong. "Daddy," I whispered, "how did you arrange all this so fast? The ambulance, the paperwork. Gloria, it seems like you've been planning this for a while." Daddy was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "Because this isn't the first time, Amara. Darnell didn't just marry you for money. He's done this before. To other women. Women who aren't around to tell their stories anymore." The ambulance pulled away from the hospital. The city lights flickered past the small windows, and I realized with horrible certainty that the man I married wasn't just greedy. He was a killer, and I wasn't his first victim. I was just the first one who survived. The ambulance drove through the night, leaving the city lights behind. I watched through the small window as buildings turned to houses, and houses turned to trees. The darkness swallowed us like a protective blanket, hiding us from the world. But it couldn't hide us from the truth. "Tell me everything, Daddy," I said. My voice was stronger now, fueled by anger and fear. "Tell me who Darnell really is." Daddy rubbed his face with his rough hands. He looked exhausted, older than his 62 years. The cancer was eating away at him. I could see it now. His cheeks were thinner. His movements were slower, but his eyes were still sharp, still determined. "His real name isn't Darnell Thompson," Daddy began. "It's Derek Turner. He was born in Baltimore 35 years ago. His mother was a housekeeper for a wealthy family. His father was never in the picture." I felt like the ground was shifting beneath me. 7 years of marriage to a man whose name I didn't even know. Growing up, Derek watched his mother work herself to the bone. Daddy continued. She scrubbed floors and washed dishes for people who had more money than they knew what to do with. She died when he was 17. Heart attack. Worked herself right into the grave. "That's terrible," I whispered. Despite everything, I felt a flash of sympathy. "It is terrible." And it twisted something inside him. He decided he was never going to be poor like his mother. He was never going to work for rich people. He was going to become one of them, no matter what it took. The ambulance hit a bump in the road. I winced as pain shot through my body. Gloria, who was sitting nearby monitoring my vitals, adjusted my pillow gently. After his mother died, Derek disappeared. Daddy said. He changed his name, got fake documents, reinvented himself as Darnell Thompson, a successful businessman from Atlanta. He created a whole history, college degree, work experience, references, all of it fake. But how did he find me? How did he know about the money? Daddy's jaw tightened. That's the part that took Jerome the longest to figure out. It turns out Derek has a system. He researches wealthy families. Families like ours who hide their money. He looks for single daughters, women who don't know about their inheritance. Then he moves in. Like a hunter stalking prey, I said bitterly. Exactly like that. Daddy paused, and I saw pain in his eyes. He found out about our family through a lawyer, a man named Richard Simmons. He was one of the attorneys who helped my father set up the original trusts. Richard died 5 years ago. Heart attack, they said. But Jerome found evidence that Derek was in contact with him before he died. Richard probably told him everything for a price. Then Derek made sure he couldn't tell anyone else. The implications of that hit me like a punch to the stomach. Derek had killed the lawyer. He had killed to protect his secrets. And then, he had come after me. "You said there were other women," I whispered. "Other victims." Daddy nodded slowly. Jerome found 2. Both of them were from wealthy families. Both of them married Derek under different names. Both of them died within a few years of their weddings. How did they die? The first one was named Patricia Holloway. She was from South Carolina. Rich family, old money. She married a man named Daniel Tucker 6 years ago. Daddy's voice got heavy. She drowned in her bathtub 8 months later. They called it an accident. I thought about my own bathtub at home. How many times had Darnell suggested I take a long bath to relax? How many times had he offered to bring me wine while I soaked? The second woman was Keisha Morrison. Daddy continued. She was from a wealthy family in Texas, married a man named David Taylor 4 years ago. She died from a fall down the stairs, another accident. But it wasn't an accident. No, baby girl, it wasn't. Both times, the husband inherited everything. Both times, the husband disappeared a few months later. And both times, no one connected the dots because he used different names, different identities. Gloria shook her head sadly. "Evil walks among us in nice clothes and pretty smiles," she murmured. I lay there in silence, processing everything. The man I thought loved me had married me to steal my inheritance and kill me. He had done it before, twice that we knew of. Maybe more times that Jerome hadn't discovered yet. How did he know I was in that accident? I asked suddenly. He showed up at the hospital so fast, almost like he knew it was going to happen. Daddy's face went very still. That's something we haven't figured out yet. Jerome is still investigating, but there's a possibility. What possibility? The truck that hit you. The driver disappeared right after the crash. No one ever found him. The police said it was a hit and run. Daddy looked at me, with eyes full of sorrow. But what if it wasn't random, Amara? What if Derek arranged the whole thing? The ambulance suddenly felt very cold. I pulled the thin blanket tighter around my shoulders. He tried to kill me twice, I said, my voice shaking. Once on the road, and once in the hospital. And he'll try again if we give him the chance. That's why we have to stay hidden. That's why we have to build our case against him before he knows what's happening. But how? He's so careful. He's gotten away with it before. Daddy smiled then, a real smile that reminded me of happier times, because this time, he made a mistake. This time, his victim survived. And this time, we have something he doesn't know about. What's that? Evidence. Real evidence. Jerome found a storage unit in Miami registered under one of Derek's fake names. Inside that unit, there were documents, photos, records of everything he's done for the past 10 years. Hope flickered in my chest like a small flame. Why would he keep all that? Insurance, probably, in case any of his partners tried to double-cross him, in case he needed leverage against someone. Daddy squeezed my hand. Whatever the reason, it's going to be his downfall. We just need a little more time to put everything together. The ambulance slowed down, and I realized we were turning onto a dirt road. Trees pressed close on either side, their branches reaching toward us like dark fingers. We're almost there, Gloria announced. About 5 more minutes. I tried to sit up a little straighter. My body protested, but I pushed through the pain. I needed to be strong. I needed to be ready for whatever came next. What is this place? I asked. It belonged to your grandfather, Daddy said. He bought it 40 years ago, long before he became wealthy. It's not registered under any of our family names. No one knows about it except me and a few trusted people. The ambulance finally stopped in front of a simple farmhouse. It was old but well maintained, with a wraparound porch and smoke rising from the chimney. Solar panels on the roof glinted in the moonlight. Someone had prepared for our arrival. "Welcome home, baby girl," Daddy said, "at least for now." The paramedics carefully lifted me out of the ambulance and carried me inside. The house was warm and cozy, filled with the smell of pine wood and something cooking in the kitchen. A fire crackled in a stone fireplace. Simple furniture was arranged around the room, nothing fancy but everything comfortable. They settled me onto a hospital bed that had been set up in what looked like a converted living room. Medical equipment surrounded me, everything I needed to continue recovering. Gloria immediately started checking monitors and adjusting my IV. "There's a full-time nurse who will be staying here with you," Daddy explained. "Her name is Beatrice. She's worked with our family for 20 years. You can trust her completely." An older woman emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on an apron. She had silver hair pulled back in a neat bun and a face that radiated warmth and competence. "You must be Amara," she said, her voice soft and melodic. "I've heard so much about you. I made some soup if you're hungry. Nothing too heavy. Just something to help you get your strength back." "Thank you," I managed to say. My eyes were growing heavy. The journey had exhausted me more than I wanted to admit. Daddy noticed. "Rest now, baby girl. You're safe here. Nothing's going to happen to you." "What about Darnell? What if he figures out where we went?" "He won't. We covered our tracks carefully. The hospital records show you were transferred to a facility in Florida. If Derek goes looking, that's where he'll search. Florida. A fake trail. By the time he realizes you're not there, We'll be ready to take him down. I wanted to ask more questions. I wanted to know every detail of the plan. But sleep was pulling at me, dragging me down into darkness. The last thing I saw before my eyes closed was Daddy's face, full of love and determination. When I woke up, sunlight was streaming through the windows. Birds were singing outside. For one beautiful moment, I forgot everything. I forgot about the accident. I forgot about the coma. I forgot about Darnell and his hands around my throat. Then it all came rushing back. I tried to sit up and found that I was stronger than yesterday. My arms responded better. My legs had more feeling in them. Whatever medicine Gloria and Beatrice were giving me was working. "Good morning, sunshine," Beatrice said, appearing beside me with a tray of food. "How are you feeling today?" "Better," I admitted. "A lot better, actually." "That's wonderful to hear. Your body is healing nicely. You should be able to start physical therapy in a day or two." She helped me eat some oatmeal and fruit. Simple food, but it tasted like the best meal I had ever had. I was alive. I was healing. I was safe. For now. Daddy came in around noon, looking tired but alert. He was carrying a laptop and a stack of folders. "Good news and bad news," he said, sitting down beside my bed. "Bad news first. Darnell knows you're gone from the hospital. He showed up this morning to visit you and found an empty room. He's furious. He's already making calls, trying to track you down." My heart started racing. "Can he find us?" "Not yet. But he's smart, and he's desperate. We need to move faster than we planned." "What's the good news?" Daddy opened one of the folders and pulled out a photograph. Jerome found another piece of the puzzle. "Look at this." I took the photograph. It showed Darnell standing with another man outside a fancy restaurant. They were shaking hands and smiling. "Who's that?" I asked. "His name is Victor Kane. He's a criminal who specializes in insurance fraud and identity theft. He's also the one who creates all of Derek's fake documents. His passports, his driver's licenses, his work histories, everything. How does that help us?" "Because Victor was arrested 2 days ago. Completely unrelated charges. Drug trafficking." Daddy smiled grimly. "The police don't know about his connection to Derek yet. But if someone were to tell them, Victor might make a deal. He might testify against Darnell to save himself." "Exactly. Jerome is working on making that happen. If Victor talks, we'll have a witness who can connect Derek to all his fake identities, all his crimes." For the first time since I woke up from the coma, I felt something like hope. Real hope. Not just the desperate wish that everything would somehow be okay, but actual belief that we could win this fight. "There's something else," Daddy said. He pulled out another document from the folder. "This is a recording. Audio from Derek's storage unit. Jerome found a hidden camera." "What's on it?" Daddy's face was grim. "Derek, talking to someone on the phone, planning your accident, telling them exactly where you would be and when, telling them to make sure you didn't survive." I felt sick. He really did arrange the car crash. He did, and now we have proof. Tears started rolling down my cheeks, not sad tears, angry tears, furious tears. "I want him to pay," I said, my voice shaking with emotion, "for what he did to me, for what he did to Patricia and Keisha, for all of it. He will, baby girl. I promise you, he will." Daddy stayed with me for the rest of the afternoon. We talked about the plan, about what needed to happen next. Jerome was coordinating with a federal prosecutor who was interested in the case. The evidence was being compiled and organized. Soon, they would have enough to arrest Derek and charge him with multiple crimes, including murder. But we weren't out of danger yet. We had to stay hidden. We had to stay careful. Derek was still out there, still searching. As evening fell, Beatrice served dinner. Daddy, Gloria, Beatrice, and I ate together at a small table in the kitchen. For a few precious hours, it almost felt normal, almost felt like a family. Then Daddy's phone rang. He looked at the screen and frowned. "It's Jerome," he answered quickly. "What's wrong?" I couldn't hear what Jerome was saying, but I watched Daddy's face change. His skin went pale. His eyes went wide. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "When did this happen?" More talking from the other end. Daddy grabbed the edge of the table like he needed support to stay standing. "I understand. Keep me informed." He ended the call and stood there for a long moment, not moving, not speaking. "Daddy," I reached out to him. "What happened? What did Jerome say?" When Daddy finally looked at me, I saw something I had never seen in his eyes before. Fear. Pure, raw fear. "Victor Kane is dead," he said slowly. "Someone killed him in jail last night, made it look like a suicide." The room went completely silent. "But that's not all," Daddy continued. "Jerome said he found something in Victor's belongings, a list of names and addresses, safe houses that Derek uses when he needs to hide." "What does that mean?" Daddy swallowed hard. "One of the addresses on that list, Amara. It was this house. This exact house." My blood turned to ice. "Derek knows about this place," Daddy whispered. "He's probably known about it for months. And if Victor told him we were planning to hide here..." Before he could finish, the lights went out. The whole house plunged into darkness. Beatrice screamed. Gloria knocked over her chair trying to stand up. And from somewhere outside, we heard the sound of footsteps. Someone was coming. The darkness was complete. The only light came from the dying embers in the fireplace, casting dancing shadows across the walls. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. "Nobody move," Daddy whispered. "Stay quiet." The footsteps outside got closer, slow and deliberate, like someone who had all the time in the world, like someone who knew exactly where we were and wasn't in any hurry. Daddy moved silently across the room. I heard him open a drawer and pull something out. When he came back to my bedside, I saw the outline of a gun in his hand. "Daddy, no," I breathed. "You'll get hurt. I'm not letting him take you, baby girl. Not while I'm still breathing." Gloria crouched beside my bed, her hand gripping mine. Beatrice had disappeared somewhere in the darkness, hopefully hiding or calling for help. The footsteps stopped, right outside the front door. Then came the knocking, slow, rhythmic, almost playful. Knock, knock, knock. "Amara," Darnell's voice called out, smooth as silk. "I know you're in there, sweetheart. Why don't you come out and talk to me? We have so much to discuss." Nobody answered. Nobody moved. "Come on now, don't be rude." His voice got a little harder. "I drove a long way to find you. The least you can do is say hello to your husband." Still nothing. "Fine. Have it your way." There was a moment of silence. Then the front door exploded inward. Darnell stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the moonlight. He was holding something in his hand, a crowbar, maybe, or a pipe. I couldn't tell, in the darkness. "There you are," he said, stepping inside. His eyes found me immediately, like he could see in the dark. "My beautiful wife, the one who just wouldn't die." Daddy stepped between us, raising his gun. "Don't come any closer, Derek. That's right. I know your real name. I know everything about you." Darnell stopped. For a moment, surprise flickered across his face. Then he smiled, that charming smile that had fooled me for so many years. "So you figured it out," he said, almost admiringly. "I have to say, I'm impressed. Most people never get past the surface. Most people only see what I want them to see." "I see a murderer," Daddy said, his voice steady. "I see a man who killed innocent women for money. I see a coward who preys on people who trust him." Harsh words from a man who lied to his own daughter her entire life. Darnell took another step forward. "Did you tell her, Elijah? Did you tell her that you're the reason her mother died?" The gun in Daddy's hand trembled slightly. "Don't you dare talk about my wife." "Oh, but it's such a good story." Darnell's voice was mocking now. The great Elijah Jenkins, heir to a secret fortune, who married a simple woman from the neighborhood. A woman who had no idea about the money. A woman who found out the truth and threatened to leave. A woman who died in a suspicious car accident just like her daughter almost did. "That's a lie," Daddy shouted. "Sarah's death was an accident. A real accident." "Was it?" Darnell tilted his head. "Because I've done my research, old man. I know that your father didn't approve of the marriage. I know that he threatened to cut you off if you didn't leave her. And I know that 3 weeks after Sarah discovered the truth about the family fortune, she was dead." "Daddy," my voice came out small and scared. "What is he talking about?" "Don't listen to him, Amara. He's trying to manipulate you. It's what he does." "I'm just telling the truth." Darnell took another step. "Something your father has never been very good at. How does it feel, Amara? Finding out that the man you trusted most in the world might be just as bad as me." My mind was spinning. Mama's death, the car accident, the secrets. Was any of it true? Was my whole life built on lies? "It doesn't matter," I heard myself say. My voice was stronger than I expected. "Even if what you're saying is true, it doesn't change what you did. You tried to kill me. You strangled me in my hospital bed. You murdered Patricia and Keisha. Nothing about my father changes that." Darnell's smile faded. "You remember that, do you? The hospital?" "I remember everything. I was awake the whole time. I heard every word you said. I felt your hands around my throat. Then you know I don't leave loose ends." He raised the pipe in his hand. "I was hoping we could do this the easy way. You sign over your inheritance. We get a quiet divorce. Everyone goes home happy. But if you want to do it the hard way." He lunged forward. Daddy fired the gun. The sound was deafening in the small room. Darnell stumbled but didn't fall. The bullet had caught him in the shoulder. Blood bloomed across his shirt like a dark flower. "You shot me," he said, sounding almost surprised. "You actually shot me. And I'll do it again if you take one more step." But Darnell wasn't listening anymore. Something had snapped inside him. All the charm, all the pretense, it was gone. What was left was pure rage. He charged at Daddy like a wounded animal. They crashed into each other and fell to the floor. The gun went flying, skittering across the wooden boards into the darkness. I heard them struggling, grunting, fighting for their lives. "Gloria, help him!" I screamed. But Gloria was frozen in fear, her hand still gripping mine so tight it hurt. I had to do something. I couldn't just lie there and watch my father die. With every ounce of strength I had, I pushed myself up from the bed. Pain shot through my body like lightning. My legs felt like jelly, but I forced myself to stand. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. I could see them now in the dim light from the fireplace. Daddy was on the bottom, Darnell's hands around his throat, the same hands that had been around my throat, the same position, the same murderous intent. I looked around desperately for something, anything I could use as a weapon. My eyes landed on a heavy iron poker beside the fireplace. 4 steps, 5 steps, 6. I grabbed the poker. It was heavier than I expected. My arms shook with the effort of lifting it. Darnell was so focused on killing Daddy that he didn't hear me coming. Didn't see me raise the poker above my head. "Get off my father." I brought the poker down with all my strength. It connected with the back of Darnell's head with a sickening crack. He went limp immediately, collapsing on top of Daddy like a puppet whose strings had been cut. For a moment, everything was still. Then Daddy pushed Darnell's body off him and scrambled to his feet. He grabbed me just as my legs gave out, holding me up, holding me close. "Amara, baby girl, are you okay? Are you hurt?" "I'm fine," I gasped. Is he dead?" We both looked down at Darnell's motionless form. Blood was pooling beneath his head. His eyes were closed. His chest wasn't moving. Then, slowly, he took a breath. He was alive. Unconscious, but alive. "We need to tie him up," Daddy said, "before he wakes up." Gloria finally unfroze and rushed to help. She found some rope in a closet and together, she and Daddy bound Darnell's hands and feet. Beatrice emerged from wherever she had been hiding, holding a phone. "I called the police," she said, her voice shaking. "And Jerome, they're both on their way." I sank back onto the bed, exhausted beyond words. Every muscle in my body ached, but I was alive. Daddy was alive, and Darnell, the monster who had terrorized us all, was finally captured. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Police cars arrived with their lights flashing. Paramedics checked my injuries and Daddy's bruises. Detectives asked questions and took statements. Jerome showed up with stacks of evidence and a federal prosecutor who looked like she hadn't slept in days. Darnell, or Derek as we now knew him, was taken away in handcuffs. He had regained consciousness by then, but he wasn't talking. His lawyer showed up almost immediately, a slick man in an expensive suit who probably cost more than most people earned in a year. It didn't matter. The evidence against him was overwhelming. The recordings, the documents, the testimony that Victor Kane had secretly given to Jerome before his death. Everything pointed to Derek Turner as a serial killer who had murdered at least 3 people for money, including, as it turned out, my mother. That was the hardest part to accept. The thing Darnell had said about my mother's death wasn't entirely a lie. Jerome had discovered the truth while investigating Derek's crimes. 26 years ago, when my mother found out about the family fortune and threatened to leave my father unless he told me the truth, someone had tampered with her car. Someone had made her accident happen. But it wasn't my father. It was my grandfather. The old man had been so paranoid about keeping the family secret that he had eliminated what he saw as a threat. He had killed his own daughter-in-law to protect his money. And my father, devastated by grief and horror, had covered it up. He had spent the next 26 years living with that secret, trying to protect me from the ugliness of our family history. When Daddy told me the truth, sitting beside my bed as the sun rose over the farmhouse, I didn't know how to feel. Angry, sad, betrayed, all of those emotions swirled inside me like a storm. But underneath it all, I felt something else. Understanding. Daddy had made terrible choices. He had lied to me my whole life. He had hidden the truth about my mother, about the money, about everything. But he had done it out of love. Twisted, misguided love. But love nonetheless. "I don't expect you to forgive me," Daddy said, tears streaming down his weathered face. "What my father did, what I helped cover up, it's unforgivable. I've spent every day since your mother died trying to make it right, trying to be a better man, trying to raise you to value the things that really matter. Why didn't you just tell me the truth?" "Because I was afraid." His voice broke. "Afraid you would hate me. Afraid you would look at me the way I look at myself in the mirror every morning. Afraid I would lose you, like I lost your mother." I reached out and took his hand. His rough, calloused hand that had worked on cars for 30 years to maintain a simple life. His hand that had held mine when I learned to walk, wiped my tears when I was sad, waved goodbye when I left for college. "I don't hate you, Daddy," I said softly. "I'm hurt. I'm angry. I need time to process everything. But I don't hate you. I could never hate you." Daddy broke down completely then. He sobbed like a child, his whole body shaking with the weight of decades of guilt and secrets finally being released. We held each other for a long time, father and daughter, 2 broken people trying to heal. The weeks that followed were difficult but filled with progress. My body grew stronger every day. I worked with physical therapists to regain my mobility. I ate Beatrice's wonderful cooking and gained back the weight I had lost in the hospital. I took walks around the farmhouse, breathing in the fresh country air, feeling the sun on my face. Derek's trial was all over the news. The story of the handsome con man who married women for their money and killed them when they became inconvenient captured the public's imagination. Reporters called him the fortune hunter. Prosecutors called him a monster. I called him nothing at all, because I refused to speak his name. I testified at the trial, of course. I sat in that witness stand and looked Derek in the eyes and told everyone what he had done to me. How he had strangled me in my hospital bed. How he had planned my accident. How he had fooled me for 7 years with his lies and manipulation. He watched me the whole time with those cold eyes. No remorse, no regret, just calculation, even now, trying to figure out if there was any way to escape justice. There wasn't. The jury found him guilty on all counts. 3 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of attempted murder, fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. When the sentence was announced, I felt something release inside me. Not happiness, exactly, more like relief. The nightmare was finally over. Daddy didn't live to see the verdict. His cancer took him 3 months after that night at the farmhouse. He died peacefully in his sleep, holding my hand, with a smile on his face. "I'm going to see your mama," he whispered in his final moments. "I'm going to tell her how proud I am of you, how strong you are, how beautiful your heart is. Tell her I love her," I said through my tears. "Tell her I wish I could have known her. She knows, baby girl. She's been watching over you your whole life. She never left." And then, he was gone. I inherited everything, of course. The houses in 3 countries, the businesses, the bank accounts in Switzerland, more money than I could spend in 100 lifetimes. But Daddy was right. Money doesn't make a person rich. Love does. Kindness does. A good heart does. So I used the money to help people. I set up foundations for victims of domestic violence. I funded shelters and counseling programs and legal aid for women trying to escape abusive relationships. I created scholarships for kids from poor neighborhoods who dreamed of going to college. I built a community center in Maplewood, in Daddy's name, where people could learn new skills and find support. I also went back to the animal shelter where I first met Derek. I adopted Bruno, the stubborn pit bull who hated baths. He's sleeping at my feet right now as I write this, old and gray but still full of love. Some people might say I should be bitter. After everything I went through, after all the lies and betrayals, I would have every right to be angry at the world. But bitterness is a poison that hurts the person who carries it most of all. Daddy taught me that. Mama taught me that, through the stories Daddy told and the legacy she left behind. I choose kindness instead. I choose to see the good in people, even when they disappoint me. I choose to help those who are struggling, because I know how it feels to struggle. I choose to love with my whole heart, even though loving makes us vulnerable. Because that's who I am. That's who I've always been. Not a billionaire heiress, not a victim of a terrible crime. Just Amara. A woman who grew up in a tiny house with holes in her shoes, who learned that the most valuable things in life can't be bought with money. I still think about Derek sometimes, sitting in his prison cell, surrounded by concrete walls, unable to hurt anyone ever again. I wonder if he regrets what he did. I wonder if he ever truly loved anything or anyone in his whole sad life. Then I look around at my life now, the friends I've made, the people I've helped, the love I've received and given, and I realize something important. Derek tried to take everything from me, my life, my inheritance, my faith in humanity, but he failed. Because you can't steal someone's spirit, you can't crush someone's hope, you can't destroy the goodness in a person's heart, no matter how hard you try. I am Amara Jenkins, daughter of Elijah and Sarah, granddaughter of a complicated man who did terrible things for reasons he thought were right. I am a survivor of violence, a witness to evil, and a believer in redemption. And I am living proof that even in the darkest night, the sun will rise again. This is my story, not a story about money or revenge or murder, though it has all of those things. It's a story about love, the love between a father and daughter, the love we owe to strangers who are suffering, the love that connects us all, across time and distance and every obstacle life throws in our way. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. Thank you for caring about what happened to me. Thank you for being part of my journey. And remember, beautiful people, no matter what you're going through right now, no matter how dark things seem, there is always hope. There is always a chance for things to get better. There is always someone who cares about you, even if you can't see them yet. Be kind to each other. Help those who need help. Love with your whole heart, even when it's scary. That's all any of us can do. And it's more than enough.